Dr. Maria Lucia is a clinical biochemist at a university-affiliated hospital and is currently planning her first genetic treatment trial. She plans to take blood samples and perform DNA analysis on 100 elderly females diagnosed with osteoporosis and include it in an industry-sponsored trial to relate the DNA analysis with the treatment response. Osteoporosis, in simple terms, is diagnosed by studying the results of skeletal X-rays, laboratory tests, and bone density tests. In the planning phase of this trial, Dr. Lucia asks one of her colleagues, Dr. Eugenio Benato, to act as a potential trial participant in order to identify key points for the informed consent process. Dr. Lucia asks Dr. Benato, "So, you have now heard about the details of the genetic study that you have been invited to participate in. Do you have any concerns or questions that I can help you clarify?" Dr. Benato silently looks out the window for a moment and then declares in his razor-sharp voice, "Yes, in fact, I have 6 major concerns. How will my confidentiality and privacy be protected? What are my rights to my DNA? Can I withdraw my DNA from the study? How long do you plan to keep the DNA? What will I find out about my DNA results? Will you use my DNA for other purposes?" Dr. Lucia looks with great surprise at her colleague and whispers, "Mamma mia, how on earth did you come up with those difficult questions?" Dr. Benato points to a book on his desk. "I just finished reading that book entitled Reviewing Clinical Trials, a Guide for the Ethics Committee." Dr. Benato is a potential participant in a genetics clinical trial that Dr. Lucia is currently planning. Dr. Lucia is embarking on her first genetics trial, and she has now been faced with 6 difficult questions raised by Dr. Benato, who says, "I will help you with the replies." He reaches for the book on his desk and reads, "How will my confidentiality and privacy be protected?" Reply, "Your DNA will be stored and kept confidential in my laboratory. There is a possibility that Dr. Lucia and the company sponsoring this research will study your DNA." "What are my rights to my DNA?" Reply, "Dr. Lucia will be responsible for deciding how it will be used. She may use your DNA in additional research. The DNA may be proven to have therapeutic or commercial value. Do you give your permission for this use?" "Can I withdraw my DNA from the study?" Reply, "Yes, you may tell Dr. Lucia about this, and she will try to stop additional studies. However, it may be impossible to locate and stop some future research once the materials have been shared with other researchers." "How long do you plan to keep the DNA?" Reply, "Dr. Lucia or her collaborators will keep your DNA specimen for not more than 50 years. "What will I find out about my DNA results?" Reply A, "There will be no direct benefit to you from this study since you will not be provided with any results regarding your DNA test." Reply B, "If we obtain information that will affect your health, we will inform you of the existence of this information. You can then decide if you wish to know the details." "Will you use my DNA for other purposes?" Reply, "Your DNA may be used by Dr. Lucia or the other scientists for additional research." Dr. Maria Lucia follows the wording exactly in writing up the informed consent form and submits it along with the other documents to the local EC. In the reply letter, the EC chair states that the informed consent information is perfect and that Dr. Lucia is invited to the next Institutional Research Ethics Educational Workshop to give a short presentation on how DNA study participants should be informed. Note: detailed local guidelines have been developed for DNA studies, and they should be consulted for better understanding. For instance, Some countries request an EC review for each genetic study when the identities of the participants are known.